There was a boy who sat in the back of the room, not because he wanted to hide, but because no one ever noticed him. He wasn't the loudest. He wasn't the funniest. He wasn't the most confident. He was invisible. People talked around him, laughed past him, walked by him, and slowly, he started believing maybe he really didn't matter. But what they didn't know was that silence was not weakness. Silence was preparation. In school, he tried to speak once. They interrupted him. He tried again. They laughed. After that, he stopped trying. At family gatherings, cousins showed off achievements. Uncles praised louder personalities. And him, he sat quietly, smiling, not because he was happy, but because he had learned something dangerous. If you expect nothing, you won't get hurt. He walked home alone most days, not because no one was around, but because no one chose him. And when nobody chooses you, you start choosing solitude. At night, he stared at the ceiling, asking himself, why am I never enough? He wasn't weak. He wasn't stupid. He wasn't talentless. But the world rewards noise. And he was quiet. So he made a decision. If they wouldn't notice him, he would build himself, where no one could see. He stopped trying to impress, stopped explaining, stopped chasing approval. While others were partying, he was learning. While others were gossiping, he was reading. While others were sleeping, he was building. Nobody clapped. Nobody encouraged. Nobody cared. But he did. Every single day, he became 1% stronger, 1% smarter, 1% more disciplined. And slowly, the invisible boy was turning into something dangerous. Not angry, not bitter, focused. Not loudly, not dramatically, not in front of applause, but quietly, painfully, disciplined. He didn't announce his growth. He didn't post motivational quotes. He didn't tell people he was working on himself. He just disappeared. And while the world kept moving, he kept building. One day, he walked into the same room, the same walls, the same faces, the same energy, but something was different. It wasn't his clothes. It wasn't his hairstyle. It wasn't even his success. It was his presence. Presence. That calm, grounded, unshaken energy that only comes from suffering in silence and surviving it. He didn't try to stand out. He didn't need to. The room felt him before they noticed him. People paused. Conversations slowed. Eyes shifted. Not because he demanded attention, but because real power doesn't scream. It radiates. The same people who once talked over him now waited for him to finish speaking. The same people who once laughed at his ideas now asked for his opinion. The same people who once ignored his existence now acknowledged his value, not loudly, but clearly. Respect had entered the room before he did. And the most powerful part? He wasn't trying to prove them wrong. He wasn't seeking revenge. He wasn't replaying old memories in his head. Because when you truly level up, you don't need closure. Growth becomes your closure. His posture changed. Not forced confidence. Not fake alpha behavior. Just natural alignment. Shoulders straight. Chin relaxed. Eyes steady. When he spoke, he didn't rush. He didn't fill silence with nervous words. He allowed pauses. Because he was no longer afraid of silence. Silence used to scare him. Now it obeyed him. His eyes changed. They no longer searched for approval. They no longer asked, "Do you like me?" They silently said, "I like myself." And that shift, that internal approval, is what made him untouchable. His energy changed. Before, he entered rooms hoping to be accepted. Now, he entered rooms already complete. Before, he tried to fit in. Now, he fit nowhere. And that made him rare. People can sense insecurity, but they can also sense peace. And peace is intimidating. The same classmates who ignored him now checked his profile. The same co-workers who doubted him now watched him carefully. The same relatives who underestimated him now mentioned his name with respect. But here's the twist. He didn't feel proud. He felt calm, because the battle was never against them. It was against the weak version of himself. And he had already defeated that. Success didn't make him loud. It made him selective. He spoke less, but said more. He smiled less, but meant it more. He had learned something powerful. When you build in silence, you move in silence. No announcements, no warnings, no explanations, just results. He no longer needed validation. Not from friends, not from strangers, not from social media. Because the hardest validation to earn is your own. And he had earned it. Through lonely nights, through self-doubt, through discipline when nobody was watching. He no longer chased approval. He no longer over-explained. He no longer begged to be understood. Because powerful people understand one thing. Not everyone deserves access to your story. Some people only deserve the outcome. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't see the tears. They didn't see the rejection. They didn't see the nights he almost quit. They only saw the results. The calm, the success, the transformation. But transformation is never sudden. It is silent, slow, and painful. He had become the man they never saw coming. Not because he surprised them, but because they never paid attention. And sometimes, the most dangerous person in the room is the quiet one who was underestimated. He wasn't angry anymore. Anger used to fuel him. Now clarity did. He wasn't trying to dominate rooms. He was trying to master himself. And self-mastery is the highest form of power. One day someone asked him, "How did you change so much?" He smiled, not arrogantly, not proudly, just peacefully. And he said, "I stopped waiting for someone to choose me." That was it. That was the shift. When you stop waiting, you start building. When you stop explaining, you start evolving. When you stop chasing attention, you start attracting respect. He didn't need revenge. Success is silent revenge. He didn't need to prove anything. His life proved it. He didn't need to remind anyone of the past, because the present spoke loudly enough. And here is the truth most people won't tell you. Being ignored is painful. Being underestimated hurts. But both are gifts. Because when nobody expects from you, you are free. Free to grow without pressure. Free to fail without humiliation. Free to rebuild without judgment. Invisibility is painful, but it is powerful. Because when you rise from invisibility, you rise unstoppable. He wasn't special. He wasn't chosen. He wasn't lucky. He was consistent. And consistency beats talent. When talent lacks discipline, every single day. One day, he walked into the same room. But this time, people noticed. Not because he demanded attention, but because presence speaks louder than noise. His posture changed. His eyes changed. His energy changed. The same people who ignored him now asked for advice. The same people who laughed now respected him, not because he proved them wrong, but because he proved himself right. Success didn't make him loud. It made him untouchable. He no longer needed validation. He no longer chased approval. He had become the man they never saw coming. If you feel invisible right now, good, because invisibility is a gift. When nobody watches you, you can build without pressure. When nobody expects from you, you can surprise the world. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. They may ignore you today, but if you stay consistent, one day, they won't be able to ignore you anymore. So if you are that quiet boy, sitting in the back of the room, listening more than speaking, feeling unseen, remember this: your time is coming, not because you shout, but because you build silently. And when success finally arrives, you won't need revenge. Your presence will be enough. Soft pause. Stay quiet. Stay focused. And become untouchable. If this story felt like yours, subscribe, because this is only the beginning.